Good day to all. Welcome to this new session. In this, we will try to cover the sets of PTQs and MCQs that probably could be asked in the upcoming NATA 2020 exam. Don't try to skip the video. Get a pen and paper, and together we will learn how to solve PTQs and MCQs. And in this session, we will try to cover the Part A visual principles. Right. So get ready, guys. So we'll just look into the syllabus of Part A. As we all know, it is divided into 6 parts. First part is the visual principles part. Second will be geometry, color theory, visual interpretation. For the sake of convenience, in this lesson we will deal with only the visual principles. Keep updating yourself. More videos we will be incorporating in the upcoming sessions. Right. So now let's look into the sample PTQs. The first is a pretty much simple, straightforward one. So the question is identify the visual principle used in the composition in a preferential manner. So the keyword here is preferential. So whenever such preferential type questions come, you go for the option that strikes you the most first. So let's look in the options. There are 8 options. Let's assume they ask 8 options. So that is the worst case scenario, right? So from this 8, you have to choose a maximum of up to 4. So that is the key here. So go for the option that strikes you the most first. So let's look in the option axis. Yes, there is always an axis passing through the center, as you can see. So axis is there. Symmetry, yes, it is a symmetrical composition. Attachment is always one of the famous examples of a symmetrical composition. So symmetry is also there. Hierarchy is not there. Contrast is there. Slight contrast is there in terms of the building and the sky. So let's keep it at one particular side. Rhythm is not there. Although these trees can be an example of rhythm, but the elements are not varying, right? It's only repetition. So rhythm is also not there. Unity is of course there is an the composition as a whole has the sense of unity. Of course balance is also there. Dominance, maybe yes, the dome can be a dominating feature, but it's not very much dominating, right? It's very subject specific also. So this is the key here. Whenever such contrasting cases come, go for the one which is pretty much direct and straightforward. So axis is pretty much direct and straightforward. Yes, symmetry is direct and straightforward. So we have two already. Then hierarchy is not there. Contrast we don't know, right? So, but unity is there and balance is also. So these 4 will be the most dominating features. So you can go for these 4. So this is how you solve preferential type questions. When such more number of options are given, you go for the one which strikes you the most first, right? So this is the second question. So this is the Vanna Venturi house. You must be aware of this image. So I will give you some time. Okay, try to identify among the 8 4 options. So the order should be from the most to the least, right? So I'll give you some time. Okay. So right, so let's look in the options once again. So axis, yes, axis is there. There is an axis passing through the center and dividing the composition. So axis is there, right? So axis is there. Symmetry. Let's look. Is it symmetrical composition? No, it is not. Although it might look as a symmetrical composition, it's not same. So this is not coinciding with this, right? So it's not a symmetrical composition. Hierarchy, we don't know. There is this element has a sense of proportion, however, right, it has a sense of proportion. Balance is also there, but what is the balance? It has an asymmetrical balance. So yes, balance should be the one that you should be going for first. So balance is there. So when a Venturi house comes, you go for balance straight away. It is an important example of asymmetrical balance. Yes, unity is there. So the order can be balance, unity, proportion, axis, right? But the others won't be there, right? So this is the third question. Again, it is the same question. So just have a look into the picture, and I will give you again some time. Okay, try to arrange it in a preferential manner from the most to the least, right? Okay, now let's look into it. So I think this is a pretty much simple and straightforward one. So yes, axis, yes, it is there. There is an axis passing through the center and dividing the composition. So axis is definitely there. Symmetry, is it a symmetrical composition? Although it might appear as a symmetrical composition, it is somewhat symmetrical. Okay, almost a majority of the composition is symmetrical, but as you can see, the facades are not identical. Right, there is some dissimilarity, so we will leave it side. We will search for more options. Hierarchy is not there. There is nothing hierarchically dominating in the composition. Contrast is also not there. Is rhythm there? No, there is no, as such there is nothing like rhythm here. Unity, yes, the composition has a sense of unity. Does it have balance? Yes, that is where you have to go. Again, like the previous case, this is also an example of balance. But what balance? Yes, asymmetrical balance, right? And what proportion is there? Yes, proportion is there. So these four can be the options, right? So you can go for balance first. This is an always important example of asymmetrical balance. Then you can go for unity, proportion, and axis, right? So this can be either asked as a PTQ format or an MCQ format. If it is in an MCQ format, there is no reason for you to go in a hierarchical manner. You can simply choose any options as such. But if it is in a preferential manner, you go for the one which strikes you the most first. So in this case, it would be definitely balance. Then there will be unity, proportion, and axis, right? So let's look at the fourth question. So again, the question is same. Arrange the visual principles in a preferential manner from most to least. So again, have a look in the image. Whenever you attempt questions, even for the exam, you have a pen and paper with you so that you can scribble on it and get in touch with the question. Okay, so I'll give you some time. So let's look into the options. So first is dominance. So yes, there is a sense of dominance, right? So this particular facade where they are praying on the Qibla, yes, it is a mosque. You can see this as a modern looking mosque. So there is a dominance here. So yes, dominance, you can go for dominance. Symmetry is not there, although it appears symmetrical. The designs here is not matching with this, right? So it's not a symmetrical composition, although it might appear it's not a symmetrical. Whenever you go for symmetry, it should be perfectly symmetrical, right? Otherwise don't go for it. Then hierarchy there. No, there is nothing hierarchical. Although dominance is there, but hierarchy is not there. Contrast is there. Yes, as you can see, the this particular facade or the where they are praying on, the color of it is contrasting with respect to the ceiling. So yes, contrast is there. Rhythm is not there. Unity, yes, as a whole, the composition has a sense of unity. It has a sense of balance. It also has a yes, a sense of proportion. So as you can see in this case, there are almost five options that is matching with the image. So you go for the one which strikes you the most. So which strikes you the most? For me, it strikes dominance is one thing, right? Dominance and contrast. You can either go for contrast first and dominance second. Then you can go for either unity or balance or proportion. They might fetch you the same marks. They might give marks for all. So the worst case is that they might ask this as a PTQ. But if it is an MCQ, you don't have to worry about the uh, order of which you are arranging the options, because all options will fetch you the same marks, right? So let's look at the fifth question. Again, looking at the image, the question is same. So from the options, again, choose the principles in a preferential manner. Again, I will give you some time. Carefully answer. Okay. So yes, let's look into the options. So is dominance there? No, there is nothing dominating here as such. So dominance is not there. Symmetry. See, yes, it is a very perfect example of symmetry. Almost 95% of it is symmetrical, right? There is no reason for us to assume that it is not symmetrical. So symmetrical symmetry is one which you can go for first. There is nothing hierarchical here. Contrast, yes, slightly the color contrast with the color of the floor. So let's keep it at one side. Okay, and rhythm, is rhythm there? No, there is nothing rhythmic here. Unity is of course there. So one uh, thing that you might see is that almost all the cases whenever unity comes, no, it is always there in any composition. Otherwise it should be a very out of proportion or out of very badly composed image. It won't have unity. So unity is of course there, balance is there, and proportion is there. So these three will always be there whenever it is there. So it's, yes, why it is balanced? Because it has a sense of because symmetry is there. Always symmetrical compositions will have a sense of balance, right? Because you can see there is an axis going which divides it into two identical halves. So it is a symmetrical composition and it's also a balanced composition. So we can go for symmetry, balance, unity, and proportion, right? So let's look into the sixth question again. Look into the image and answer it, right? So the more you practice, the more you will get in touch with the questions and the more you will be confident while doing the actual exam, right? So these examples are only the worst case. Okay, they won't ask you as many as 8 questions, 8 options, but you can definitely expect them to do so. So look into this and try to arrange the visual principles in a preferential manner. Okay, now let's look into the options. So emphasis is another word for dominance, right? So if you have any doubt in these visual principles, you can always go back and have a look into our visual principles lessons that we have uploaded in our previous sessions. Okay, so yes, emphasis is there, right? Emphasis is a dominance in terms of size. So as you can see, this particular image, the triangle that you see here, right, is dominating the entire composition, both in terms of its size as well as in terms of its color. So yes, emphasis or dominance is there. Symmetry, no. Symmetry, as you must be aware of, it's not a symmetrical composition. Hierarchy is also not there. Contrast is there, yes, slight elements of contrast are there. This particular color of it is contrasting with that of the surrounding, so you can assume yes, contrast can be there. Rhythm is of course not there. Unity, yes, as a whole it has a sense of unity. And balance, yes, it has a sense of asymmetrical balance, right? As a composition, although the visual weight is more on this particular side, as a whole, uh, with these elements, the features of the sky, etc., there is a sense of balance. But proportion is not necessarily there. As you can see, the buildings are not proportionate, right? This particular building is, or building or whatever it is very significantly very large in size when you compare it with this. So proportion is not there, right? So you can arrange them in a that particular manner, right? You can go for emphasis first, then you can go for contrast, then unity and balance. So unity is always there in any composition. Like in the previous examples, unity would always be there if they are asking in the options, right? So let's look at the seventh question. Again, take your time and this time round try to make it as accurate as possible. Okay. So let's check into the options. Hope you have completed it. Right. So which is that particular principle that is dominating here or strikes you the most first? Yes, I think it is rhythm. It would be definitely rhythm. As you can see, the elements are altering and right. So it is rhythm first, but emphasis is not there, symmetry not there, hierarchy not there, contrast not there. Yes, it has a sense of unity, like in all cases. It has a sense of balance. It has a sense of asymmetrical balance, right? Although it's not symmetrical, it has a sense of asymmetrical balance and of course proportion. So the same order can be the order of your PTQ: rhythm, unity, balance, and proportion, right? So let's look at the eighth question. I think by this time you should be comfortable and you should be confident. Okay, let's I will give you some time. Hope you have completed it. So again, I think you should be comfortable with the principles by now. So again, as you can see, these elements are altering, and it is an important or perfect example of rhythm. Yes, what is rhythm? Combination of elements repeated but with variations. As you can see, the heights of it are varying. So it is of course a perfect example of rhythm. So rhythm, you can go for it first. Emphasis, like in the previous cases, is not there. It's not a symmetrical composition. It's not having any element of hierarchy. Contrast may be slightly in terms of the building and the sky, but it's not very much there, right? So you can avoid it. Unity, yes, you can go for unity. Balance, yes, it is a composition as a whole has a sense of asymmetrical balance, right? With the trees on either side and with the particular scale of the building, it has a sense of asymmetrical balance and of course proportion. Yes, the building and the surroundings definitely has a composition. So whenever you look into answer any question, you have to look the uh, image as a one complete composition. So as a composition, it has a sense of proportion. So you can arrange it in the same manner like rhythm, unity, balance, or proportion, right? So the key here in answering any PTQ is that the one options or the options that you strikes or you feel is dominating, you go for those options right straight away, right? That makes your whole process a lot easier in shortlisting other options, right? So let's look into the ninth question again. Try to answer it. I'll give you some time. Hope you have completed it. Let's look into the options. So emphasis, no, there is no emphasis. Symmetry, no, it's not a symmetrical composition. Although there is an axis passing through it and dividing the composition, there is no symmetry. It's not a symmetrical composition. There is no hierarchy. Contrast, no, although slight contrasting features are there, it's not a, there is, it's not dominating, right? So rhythm, yes, there are certain, as you can see, there are certain patterns that are getting repeated. The tube lights and the bookshelves on either side, there is a sense of rhythm. So yes, there is rhythm. Yes, it is having a sense of unity, balance. This is the key visual principle here. So this composition has a sense of asymmetrical balance. It's not a symmetrically balanced, but it has a sense of asymmetrical balance. So yes, it has a sense of asymmetrical balance and proportion. So you can go for balance first, right? It is that particular principle that is dominating here. So you can go for balance first, then you can go for rhythm, and then unity or proportion, right? So hope you are getting comfortable with the PTQs and expect such questions to come in the exams, right? So let's look in the 10th question. Again, I'll give you some time. At this point of time, you should be comfortable. Okay, you should be able to nail all the answers straight away. Okay, hope you have completed it. Let's look into the options one after the other. So emphasis or dominance, no, right. Although this particular arch, triangular kind of arch is somewhat giving it a sense of emphasis, let's assume it's not very dominating. Symmetric, is it a symmetric composition? No, although it might appear to be. As you can see, the particular dose is not coinciding here, right? So it's not a symmetrical composition. Again, doesn't have hierarchy. Contrast, no, not a huge contrast is evident. repetition is there, right? So the, as you can see, the pillars are getting repeated, the triangular arch is getting repeated. So yes, repetition is there. Unity, yes, as a whole the composition has a sense of unity. Balance is there, yes. This is the key here. So again, like in the previous case, this particular composition has a sense of what balance? Asymmetrical balance, right? So there is a sense of balance, and if they ask asymmetrical balance, you should go for asymmetrical balance first. It's not a symmetrical balance. So although it has a sense of symmetry, the this particular element is not here. Likewise, these doors and I mean these windows are not seen in this particular facade. So there is no symmetrical balance, but there is asymmetrical balance, and of course there is a sense of proportion, right, in terms of the length and width of the buildings and the overall composition. So yes, proportion is also there. So I hope you have understood the PTQs and how they have to be solved. So whenever PTQs are asked, whenever PTQ is asked, go for the options which strikes you the most first. But if it is MCQs, you don't need not have to worry about it, because all the options fetch you the same marks, as you must be aware of the syllabus and its relevant details. Right. Let's look at the last question in this series. Okay, have a look and write down the answers. We will have a look at the end. So let's look into the options. Emphasis, I think by now you should be very much clear of the whole concept. Okay, right. And if you have any doubt regarding the visual principles, sometimes emphasis can be confused with hierarchy. So if you have any such confusions, go back into the previous visual principles lessons that you have uploaded. Right, and always familiarize with the concepts before you go to the exam. So yes, emphasis is not there. Symmetry, is it a symmetrical composition? No. Although it has an axis, right, passing through the center of it, there is no symmetry. So symmetry is also not there. Again, there is nothing hierarchically significant here. Contrast, yes, slight contrast in terms of the this particular, in terms of is the texture of the bricks on the top and the plain tile on the bottom. So yes, there is some kind of contrast is evident. There is no repetition or rhythm or anything like that. Yes, unity is there. Balance, again, like in the previous case, this is also an important example of what balance? Asymmetrical balance, right? So you can go for balance first and then you can go for other options. It also has a sense of proportion. So try to arrange the options in a preferential manner based on what you find is most dominating to the less dominating, right? So we have come to the end of this session. So we have included a set of sample questions for you to practice in your free time. So if you have listened to this lesson as well as all the previous lessons on principles and other concepts, you should be able to answer these questions. Right.